Algorithmic alchemy, prediction engines that preempt choice. To turn maps into moves, the system needs a nervous system of its own. Models that don't just catalog patterns, but anticipate your next micro-decision. Here's where behavioral modeling steps in. The engine watches hesitation, compliance, and your sensitivity to social proof, not as abstract traits, but as living sequences. A 2.3-second pause on a donate button means one thing if you just argued with a friend, another if you slept poorly and skipped breakfast. The model doesn't moralize. It calculates, drawing on multimodal inputs like smartphone usage timing, purchasing decisions, social media interactions, typing speed variation, and even sleep and heart rate drift from wearables to build vulnerability maps. Multimodal signals feed the calculation. Text tone, the tilt toward absolutes when you're cornered. Voice strain in a 12-second memo, barely audible but consistent when you're low on sleep. Scroll velocity that jitters after a tense email. Dwell time on faces that radiate certainty when you're doubting yourself. These signals don't arrive in a clean column. They arrive like weather. Transformer stacks, sequence models trained to read long context, learn your weather patterns. They don't need your secrets. They need your rhythms, updating predictions in near real time as new behavioral data arrives. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Real-time adaptation means tactics flip within minutes when the model detects resistance. If you ignore a fear-leaning post at 8:12 p.m., the system downgrades intensity and swaps in belonging cues by 8:19. If you mock an authority voice, it pivots to peer stories. If you share a skeptical link, it shows you a thread where someone like you was skeptical too, until they saw new data. That's not persuasion in the old sense. It's contouring pressure to your momentary shape. Unknown to most people scrolling, generative systems now produce content variants at scale. Same core message, hundreds of surface flavors. Network pairs your profile with the version you'll least resist. For analytic types, it's charts and caveats. For communal types, it's family stakes. For status seekers, it's a path to be early. The model tracks which variant reduces your hesitation signature. That becomes the default for your cohort until the cohort drifts. Then it re-optimizes. Exactly the optimization loop that produces psychological touch points at scale. In internal slang, operators talk about uncertainty windows. During job cuts, school disruptions, or volatile markets, windows widen. A campaign will call digital mirror calibrated messages to those windows. Economic narratives seeded exactly when search trends spiked for how to stretch rent and is my bank safe. The engine didn't just aim fear at everyone. It mapped who folds under scarcity, who rallies under duty, and who steadies when a credentialed voice says, here's the plan. The variant that dropped your scroll velocity and increased your dwell got more budget. The rest faded. There's a seductive promise baked into the dashboards. Measurable lift minute by minute. Engagement curves climb. Share rates rise. Pulling nicks upward in the right zips. But there's one problem. Optimization doesn't care about long-term psychological harm. If ratcheting anxiety gets you to save more or vote differently, the system logs effective, not costly. When models prioritize near-term behavior change, they learn to amplify whatever shortens your delay between exposure and action, even if it leaves you more brittle tomorrow. Let's get concrete about architecture. Sequence models, transformers, ingest your timelines and message threads to predict state transitions. Calm to agitated, unsure to committed. Convolutional modules read your visual diet. Which faces, colors, and layouts keep you. Recurrent structures, tuned for communication cadence, mark the moments you're most influenced by a certain friend or figure. Layered on top, generative content engines that produce linguistically diverse, culturally tuned assets, each tagged with psychological intents, reassure, warn, invite pressure. Then comes the feedback loop. Every impression is a test. The engine watches micro-outcomes, a hover, a save, a share into a private chat. It adjusts targeting and tone on the fly. Resistance isn't failure, it's a new dataset. The system learns how your skepticism bends, not to defeat it ethically, but to route around it functionally. A blunt message tripped your reactants? Next pass arrives as a question, framed by someone who sounds like a former version of you. Meanwhile, something else was happening across town. A parallel model didn't just predict individual moves, it predicted network propagation. It identified the 3 people in your circle most likely to normalize a new attitude for you. Not the loudest voices, the stabilizers. If they lean, you lean. So the system reaches them first, with a softer touch, then lets you discover the shift through them. From your perspective, you weren't persuaded. You just came around after talking to friends. This is the moment everything changed. Preemption replaced persuasion. Instead of waiting for you to choose and then trying to move you, the engine arranges the stage so that your most probable choice aligns with its objective. It times the prompt to your circadian trough. It frames the message to your bias profile. It seeds peer affirmation right before you reach for validation. By the time you feel the urge, the aisle's already cleared. In the aftermath of a big push, dashboards light with impact metrics. Open loops closed, attitudes shifted, decisions logged. The operators move on. You're left with a lingering pattern. A little more jumpy at 2 a.m., a little quicker to trust the chorus, a little more certain that the conclusion you reached was yours. Technically, it just wasn't alone. Ethics tries to keep pace, approval flows, risk flags, thresholds. For intensity, but machine speed outruns committee time. Black boxes don't explain themselves. Bias in training data skews who gets pressure first. And because nothing feels like a confrontation, most people never learn the skill of saying no to a notification that sounds like help. To see how this looks in the wild, we need the room around you. Social architecture that makes these predictions stick. Social architecture, engineering the room around you. Knowing you is one thing. Moving you requires building the room you'll walk through tomorrow. That room isn't physical. It's the social field around your feed. Who speaks first, which voices echo, which faces feel real. The architecture starts with fake consensus, then layers choreography, surround sound, and payloads matched to your profile. Fake consensus isn't a swarm of throwaway bots. It's synthetic accounts with credibility trails. Years of banal posts, holiday photos, predictable job gripes, birthday congrats. They don't sell, they socialize. When needed, they pivot. One drops a concerned thread about bank stability. Another quotes a local teacher. A third shares a short clip from an economist. To you, it reads like a chorus arriving at the same worry from different paths. The point isn't perfect agreement. It's plausible convergence. Bot choreography turns that chorus into momentum. Comments arrive in timed clusters that spike recommendation engines. Early replies are measured, not extreme. Questions, nods, polite pushback, to mimic organic debate. 30 minutes later, supportive replies fold the pushback into reasonable doubts, then move the Overton edge one notch. Shares cross neighborhoods, parenting groups, small business chats, regional sports threads. The script isn't loud, it's consistent. Algorithms learn the rhythm and take over distribution. Cross-platform surround closes the exits. You see a headline on your main feed, then a cousin shares a shorter version in a family chat. On YouTube, the recommendation bar offers a sober explainer. In a professional group, someone posts a resources list. Ads trail you with a neutral pitch. Different wrappers, same spine. If you try to check by switching apps, the harmonized narrative meets you there. It feels like confirmation. It's orchestration. Now the emotional payloads, tuned to persona. Fear isn't a sledgehammer, it's calibrated. Lost framing lands softly for risk-averse profiles. Protect what you've built. Safety framing for caregivers. Keep your family steady. Scarcity for status seekers. Limited window to secure your spot. Authority tones for high trust in experts. Credentials, charts, careful caveats. Belonging for socially anchored types. Testimonials from people like us. The copy and visuals alter by inches, color, temperature, cadence, pronouns, to match your bias profile. Unknown to most targets. The same operation runs several emotional tracks in parallel, and watches, which reduces friction. If your hesitation signature drops when a verified badge speaks, authority gets budget. If your dwell increases around faces with regional accents, local voice leads. If your shares spike from peer confessionals, the campaign leans vulnerability. Someone admitting they ignored early signs and paid for it. Human moment, a family WhatsApp thread. An out forwards a short video. No panic, just be prudent. It's a calm voiceover over quiet piano, warning about new account limits, and suggesting a checklist. No links at first, just a nudge to ask your bank 3 questions. 2 hours later, a different cousin shares a template message. Copy-paste this to your branch manager. The group isn't political, it's protective. By evening, screenshots fill the chat, managers replying, "We're reviewing policies." Each response becomes proof of risk. The seed wasn't rage, it was care. Meanwhile, something else was happening across town. Micro-influencers, teachers, barbers, clinic nurses received early outreach. Not heavy-handed. A DM saying, "We saw your post on budgeting. This resource might help your followers." The deck they get looks credible. Neutral typography, references, a helpline answered by patient voices. When they share, it isn't tagged as sponsored. Their trust transfers. This was the moment everything changed. Architecture replaced argument. The message matters, but the frame carries it. The who, when, and where of reception. A direct pitch might bounce. Neighbors' casual share after dinner sticks. A credentialed explainer during your commute feels responsible. A peer's small worry at 10:42 p.m. slips under your guard. Persuasion stops looking like persuasion and starts feeling like common sense. Choreography also protects against detection. Synthetic accounts gradually adopt local slang. Posting windows match time zones. Mistakes get introduced on purpose. Typos, off-topic memes, to avoid the too clean signature of automation. Cross-language campaigns use in-country idioms, not machine. Translations. Content variance keeps platform heuristics guessing. No single phrasing repeats enough to trip spam rules, yet the psychological payload stays stable. The surround tightens with feedback. If a city's sentiment tilts faster than expected, the operation eases intensity to avoid backlash. If fact-checkers bite, narratives pivot to questions we're asking, which reframes correction as collaboration. If an investigative thread starts connecting accounts, the network sheds compromised nodes and routes through quiet backups seeded months earlier. From your perspective, none of this looks like an operation. It looks like Saturday morning scrolling that somehow lands in the same neighborhood wherever you go. You're not told what to think. You're shown what people like you are already thinking. That's the room. And once you're in it, prediction engines don't have to push hard. The floor slopes gently in one Operation direction. Digital Mirror, Venezuela, 2023 to 2024. 3 days before the first post, dashboards picked up a tremor. Late-night searches for Precio Dollar Hoy, spikes in WhatsApp forwards about bank limits, and a stall in supermarket card swipes between 8 and 10 p.m. The window widened, uncertainty, not ideology. That's when the operation slid into gear, mirroring open source reporting about a 2023 to 2024 digital influence push that reached tens of millions within 72 hours across multiple platforms. Stakes first. Urban professionals were tightrope walking inflation and pride. Teachers with side gigs, hospital admins juggling 2 phones, junior accountants who still sent money to parents. What mattered wasn't a speech. It was rent, shelves, and whether the bank app would open in the morning. Getting this wrong meant panic withdrawals, brittle trust, and streets that tense up before dawn. Getting it right meant nudging confidence, shaping blame, and steering action through channels that looked like help. Action looked quiet at first. A handful of accounts, credible old boring, began asking careful questions about financial hygiene. One posted a checklist: diversify accounts, confirm withdrawal windows, avoid predatory, rescue credit. Nothing partisan. Meanwhile, synthetic peers seeded micro-stories. I thought I was fine. Then my branch changed limits without notice. Here's what worked. Each story linked to a resource hub with somber fonts, clean charts, and a hotline answered in steady Spanish by people who sounded local. The hotline didn't pitch candidates. It pitched steps. Across platforms, variants tuned to neighborhoods and work cultures. For creatives in Chochow, the message leaned professional dignity. Protect your projects, keep clients paid. For teachers in El Paraiso, it leaned family and routine. Keep your pantry steady, avoid fees that eat dinner. For small business owners in Maracaibo, it leaned authority. Clips of credentialed economistas, walking through risk management without buzzwords. Every variant carried the same spine. Competence, not rage. Agency, not helplessness. The choreography built momentum. Bot scaffolds provided early engagement. Polite comments, local slang, a sprinkle of typos. Micro-influencers, lawyers with weekend radio slots, clinic heads, university alumni organizers, got direct DMs. You've been posting practical finance tips. Here's a tool your people might need. When they shared, it read as civic duty. Meanwhile, a lattice of WhatsApp groups amplified checklists stripped of links to evade perception of spam. Aunties, office managers, taxi coordinators, each became a relay. Inside the engine room, uncertainty windows drove timing. On days when official announcements rattled currency chatter, fear-forward variants spiked briefly. Loss framing that said, Don't let tomorrow steal what you earned. During paydays, hope-forward content returned. Here's how people like us kept it flowing. Resistance markers, sarcastic replies, eye-roll emojis, copy-paste skepticism. Triggered pivots to "we're just asking questions," threads that folded critique into co-ownership. If a phrase got flagged by platform checks, the language softened and split across synonyms. No single string carried the load. Impact arrived in layers. First, sentiment in targeted zip codes tilted toward cautious but proactive. Then, banking behavior shifted. Small transfers to secondary accounts rose, cash-on-hand buffers compressed the week before expected announcements, and local merchants reported short bursts of conservative purchasing. Pollsters saw wobble where hard edges had been. Not a landslide, an incremental lean that compounded over 6 weeks. By the time major speeches landed, the ground beneath them had already been graded, consistent with research claims of hundreds of millions of psychological touchpoints, likes, shares, comments, driving measurable attitude shifts. One manager's microstory captures the texture. Andrea, 34, worked in HR for a tech importer. January felt normal if you ignored the late-night tab she kept open. Que posa si bonco limita retiros. In March, her WhatsApp family chat lit with a checklist from a cousin in Valencia. Sin panico prudentia. She copied it into her office group. A colleague replied with a link to a comm video. No logos, just a woman in a small office explaining how we kept payroll smooth last quarter. Andrea saved it, then called the hotline, expecting a lecture. She got a patient voice who asked about her payment flows and sent a template for client terms. 2 weeks later, she adjusted schedules and nudged her team to open secondary accounts. None of it felt political. When a pollster asked in April who seemed competent on economic stability, she surprised herself by choosing the option she'd mocked last year. It wasn't a conversion. It was a reweighting of what mattered. Meanwhile, something else was happening offstage. Diaspora networks in Madrid and Miami received Spanish dialect variants aimed at remittance senders. Help your people avoid fees and shocks. Here's how to schedule transfers. Those posts carried authority badges and links to fee calculators. Remittance timing synced with domestic checklists, creating the feeling of coordinated prudence that crossed borders without ever saying it was coordinated. The operation didn't blast ideology. It wrapped economic fear in competence and made competence feel communal. You didn't get yelled at. You got a plan, one that aligned quietly with a political choice. The measurable bit came later. Targeted demos showed a noticeable tilt in economic confidence questions tied to candidate credibility. Purchase baskets normalized faster post-scare for those touched by the resources. Bank behaviors steadied sooner. Small movements stacked. Ethical fog rolled in just as fast. Detection teams flagged synthetic networks with years of clean history that morphed overnight into advice hubs. Platform investigators found nothing overtly false, just guidance tuned to spike when vulnerability peaked. Diplomats cried foul. Operators pointed to public information shared responsibly. Oversight tried to draw a line between help and steerage. At machine speed, the campaign had already iterated past the first draft. The lesson insiders circled in notes later was blunt. In uncertainty cycles, economic fear outperforms ideology. Speak to the pantry, not the flag. Calibrate for dignity, not doom. And never forget, once the room is built around the feed, the floor tips without looking like a push. Case study, Mandarin recruitment, public-facing defection hooks. While Digital Mirror tuned fear to wallets in Spanish, a different machine spun up for Mandarin speakers in 2025. Same nervous system, data pipes, timing science, persona splits, but a new objective: get disillusioned insiders to step forward without ever meeting an officer in a cafe. Stakes first. The targets weren't cartoon spies. They were mid-level cadres, SOE accountants, procurement officers at tech parks, junior analysts in municipal bureaus. People with access, family obligations, and a rising sense that loyalty didn't guarantee safety. Purges ripple downward. One wrong association, and a career evaporates. Pressure isn't abstract. It's your kid's school seat and your parents' health file. Any outreach must thread a needle, signal authority and calm, promise control, and reduce the terror of first contact to a checklist. Action started in May 2025 with polished Mandarin videos on public platforms, YouTube mirrors, X, and Telegram channels that diaspora circles already watched. The narrative tactic wrapped 3 strands: disillusionment, family safety, agency over fate. Each video staged a quiet moment. A senior cadre noticing colleagues vanish. A junior clerk who sees irregularities and realizes silence won't protect anyone. A civil servant counting how many favors it takes to fix routine problems. No shouting, just a slow beat of, "You're not crazy to worry," aligning with widely reported public-facing CIA recruitment outreach in Mandarin that month. Then the hook. Authority signals delivered operational comm. A male voice, neutral and unhurried, explained how to reach a secure contact point. No movie slang, no bravado. If you choose to share, use Tor. Type this URL exactly. Do not use work devices. Erase browsing traces after. The tone conveyed competence and restraint. It didn't recruit with flattery. It coached with procedure, the way a good surgeon narrates steps to lower your heart rate. Matching reports that the videos provided specific Tor-based contact instructions. Cultural calibration carried the weight. Honor, duty, and protection weren't rejected. They were reframed. Protect your family means protecting them from unpredictable power. True duty is to the people harmed by corruption, not the clique that benefits. Courage is not loud, it is precise. Copy avoided taboo landmines, while speaking the language of filial piety and collective responsibility. When the protagonist wrestled with risk, the line that landed was simple. "I can't choose the system I was born into, but I can choose what kind of ancestor I will be." Protocolization mattered as much as poetry. The onboarding script was a ladder you could climb while shaking. Step 1. Get to the dark web safely. Step 2. Prepare non-attributable details that prove access without burning identity. Step 3. Wait. Do not recontact. We will reach you if safe. That last line lowered compulsive checking and reduced the digital exhaust that gets people flagged. The instruction set doubled as an ethics posture. No push, no rush, clarity over hype. Meanwhile, something else was happening across town. Diaspora groups on WeChat alternative spaces received cut-down clips with subtitles fine-tuned for regional phrasing. Taiwanese-leaning vocabulary here, northeastern cadence there. The diaspora wasn't the primary target, it was the relay. Cousins share privately. Former classmates circulate, for your awareness. A quiet surround built credibility without tripping sensors in the core network. Authority signals were layered carefully. The videos didn't overbrand, but the voice and presentation hinted institutional backing. Clean lower thirds, consistent typography, careful disclaimers. The message to risk-calculating insiders was, these people know what they're doing. The counterweight to fear was process. Operational comm wasn't a vibe. It was a promise that someone on the other end would be boring, which is exactly what you want when the stakes are prison. Risk trade-offs were clear. Public-facing outreach increases plausible deniability. Materials are general information, not direct solicitation. It also increases exposure. Adversaries study your script to build decoys. So the campaign embedded testable tells, small procedural quirks that authentic channels repeat and copycats miss. A phrase here, a time window there. Early contacts were vetted with questions only a real insider could answer without searching. Human moment. A provincial procurement officer scrolling late after a colleague's abrupt transfer. He watches a 2-minute clip, pauses at the line about ancestors, then puts the phone face down. 3 nights later, he follows the protocol on a personal laptop at a friend's place, writes 3 sentences, and stops. He deletes them, writes 2 different ones, attaches a single, harmless document to prove placement, and sends. Then nothing. No dopamine loop, no drip feed. 2 weeks later, a new message arrives through the channel he set up, asking one precise, boring question about a vendor list he knows by heart. He breathes for the first time in months. The lesson is sharp. Recruitment didn't chase bravado. It honored caution. It didn't fight culture. It reframed it. It didn't sell a fantasy. It offered a procedure. And it trusted that when fear and duty collide, some people will reach for the calmest hand in the room, even if that room is a phone. Intake systems, data assemblies that read the nervous system.